Today's session is about reigniting the profession and rediscovering the joy and purpose of being an accountant. Now, I'm sure many of you thinking, well, I do enjoy being an accountant, and you have a sense of purpose. And I have absolutely no doubt of that whatsoever. But hopefully, there are things that can be done to intensify that joy. I speak to so many accountants on a regular basis that actually say, it's just taken up so much of my life now to serve my clients that I've not got a life outside of it. So there's less joy there, isn't there, if you've not got the life that you'd like. We know that the world is changing as well. So how do you retain that level of joy and purpose? Okay, so I can see more and more people are joining as well. So that number is nicely going up. So if you just joined us, please don't be afraid to say hi in the chat box. Maybe let us know where you're from. I normally ask for a win of the week as well. So maybe you've got a win of the week that you can put in. I can see I don't know if that's pronounced as Therese or Therese. Normally Therese would be it, but please tell me if I've got that wrong. I've got more Roberts, Ronaldo's, Mo. We've got even more Johns. We've got James and Graham, Edna, Daniel, a few more Chris's have come on as well, Andrew, Amrat. Okay, spot on. So, yep, keep those coming in. Bought yourself a hot tub for your birthday. Wow, I love that idea. That's fantastic. Okay, I mean, I dare say it doesn't need to be heated at the moment with the temperatures we've had. Okay. So, rediscovering the joy of the profession. Let me just ask you a question. Do any of these sound familiar? So, from a pricing point of view, do any of you feel from time to time that maybe, you do a lot of work for somebody, but then you almost price apologetically? I'm sorry that maybe took me longer, or I'm sorry that there does need to be a bill for doing that. Any of you maybe feel that you apologize for charging, or talk yourself out of charging, maybe just undercharge or even do it for free? Can any of you relate? And it's up to you whether you put these in the, I'm already seeing in the chat box, so thank you, Simon. Being the bottleneck. Maybe a team, if you have a team of people, they're coming to you on a regular basis with queries. Clients only want to speak to you regardless of the fact that you may have got a team, and having a team, maybe you're having to do a lot of quality control, finding mistakes, rectifying them, etc. Maybe you're feeling that the workload is just relentless. You're not able to switch off of an evening, the weekends, when you go on holiday, maybe you're getting interrupted as well. Sometimes, many of you will have heard me say many times that, I believe that accountancy is a noble profession, but actually sometimes we can feel like we're just an accountant. We feel unappreciated by clients. Maybe self-doubt kicks in that you couldn't maybe give them some suggestions or whatever. And sometimes, and this is somebody said this to me recently, I don't think my clients realize that I've got a business to run as well. They feel I'm at their beck and call all of the time, and I shouldn't even charge them for it. And maybe feel that you're trapped in constantly delivering a lot of the low value work, which you justify by it pays the bills. Give us a yes or no in the chat box if you feel that you can relate to. It doesn't have to be all of them, but maybe some of the things that I've just mentioned. Just give us a yes or no in the chat box on that. Okay, so I'm getting some yeses coming through. And I mean, for me, some of those things take away the joy of being an accountant, don't they? What if you were able to maybe price with a greater degree of confidence because clients saw the value? What if the firm was kind of less demanding on you so that you could focus more on the stuff that you really wanted to focus on, whether it's strategy, whether it was better relationships with clients, whatever it might be? What if you were able to finish each day, maybe early and with lots of energy to enjoy your evenings, have the freedom instead of feeling exhausted? What if you were seen as more of the trusted guide to your clients rather than, well, they're just the accountant that crunches the numbers for me? And what if you're working with clients who wanted more higher value services from you? Again, just tell me, is that something that you would like more of, the stuff that I've just put on this screen behind me? A yes or no. I love interaction in the chat box, so don't be afraid to interact, even if it's a simple yes or no. So that was about you. Yeah, that's a wish list. I get that. Yeah. So that was about you. What about from your client's perspective? How many of you have clients who, and this is just a few maybe observations, maybe they're emailing you in the evenings or at the weekends or while they're supposed to be on holiday? How many of you have clients who are maybe asking perhaps if they can delay the VAT for this quarter just because maybe cash flow is tight for them? How many of you have got clients whose turnover's been flat for the last few years, despite them working really hard? How many of you are seeing clients who are forever apologizing for their records coming into you late, or they half joke about just packing it all in? The thing is, those clients, I'm sure they don't want to be in that position. I'm sure those clients don't want to be in a position where their mind is constantly on it, so much so that they're having to email you at the evening or the weekends or during their holidays. They'd rather be in a position where they can pay the VAT on time. So if you have clients that you can relate to in that sense, do you think that they would benefit from having some help that enable them to actually enjoy their evenings more and spend quality time with their families, time to unwind, switch off, more holidays to enjoy rather than being worked at? And, do you think that would be important to them? Give us a yes or no. Hi there, Vijay. Because ultimately, what if you were the one that made that difference, that you made that difference to their client, to your client, should I say, got them into a better, yeah, good riddance to vampire clients, got into a better position themselves. And actually, as a consequence of that, you were also in a better position. Because if that's something that would be important to you, then actually over the next 40 minutes, that's what I want to talk about. Because AI could be seen as a threat, but actually I think it is a wonderful opportunity for you to make those what ifs that I've just listed more of a reality. I want to talk about what I believe your natural superpowers are as an accountant and how they can be maybe repurposed or re-engaged in a way that actually really, really engages your clients and helps you to deliver more high value services to your clients in a way that they will gladly pay you for, even the ones of your clients that you feel are maybe price sensitive. And I'm going to give you a free download that you can tap into that will make that stuff happen as well. So stay till the end to get that free download. All right. Okay. So what I want to share, first of all, I just want to set the scene a little bit. Let me just flick to my chart. And I just want to make sure that my camera's moved to the right place as well. It has, so that's cool. Right. So I want you to think about the fact that many accountants that I speak to, maybe for quite a long time now, they've been just trundling along. If we imagine that this is time, I'm pretty much stuck in those low value services. Many accountants tell me I'm stuck in compliance. I've got no time to deliver anything higher. I don't have the confidence, the skills, the knowledge to deliver anything higher. But actually, I'm just trapped in this compliance kind of area. And the thing is, we've seen AI start to develop massively, haven't we? Where's my blue pen gone? I've lost my blue pen. Let me grab another one. There 5 minutes ago. we're seeing AI improve now, and AI has perhaps come in over the past few years, and I think we're going to start to see that really, really improve and develop. Some accountants are embracing that, some are staying on their same track. But I think it's going to reach a point within this AI explosion now where accountants are going to be left with three choices. Okay, so we're just representing three choices here. What are those three choices? Well, choice number one is try and avoid AI at all cost. How many of you, just give us a yes or no in the chat box, despise AI, you're frightened to death of AI and absolutely don't want to embrace it? Just give us a yes or no in the chat box, and no means you are embracing it, okay? Yes is that you're terrified of it. So I think that's option one. Now, you can try your best to avoid it, but the reality, and I'm glad to see some no's coming in here, by the way. So thankfully, nobody's so far showing that they're in this area, because the reality is that, you know, AI is here whether we like it or not. The software providers are building it into their software, you know, QuickBooks, Xero, Iris, Sage, you name it, all of the accounts production, bookkeeping, payroll software providers are building in AI. So there's no real way that we can avoid it unless we're still on spreadsheets, which I hope nobody on here is. Yeah, scared, I get that, and that's understandable. But I think with this, if we do try and turn our back on it and not embrace it, then that's just a recipe for disaster, in which case I think the root of that is just, it's just going to end the business miserably. That's the way I see it, okay? Now, there is an option 2 and, of course, an option 3. Option 2 is that you can stick with the same compliance stuff, all right? AI is going to massively accelerate the production of compliance work. That could be a threat, but actually, if you embrace the AI, stick with the compliance, there will always be clients that just want the compliance work, and that's it. Nothing else. They don't want help with their business. They don't want advice in any way, shape, or form. They don't want those added value services. They just want the rock bottom stuff. So, you know, you could just continue to look after those types of clients, let the AI accelerate the production of that stuff and embrace it. That could work. That could be profitable. You get the systems in place, that will work. Where I think that the challenge will lie with that is that if too many accountants are wanting to go down that route, then it's going to be a fight for clients, because to make this pay, ultimately to produce the accounts work, if AI is going to make something that might have taken several hours, 30 minutes, then other accountants will be saying, we can do it for a fraction of the price, etc., which is going to drive the cost, or sorry, not the cost, but the fees that you can charge for compliance work down, okay? And there's only so much scope for value pricing compliance work that somebody doesn't value in the first place, isn't there? So if somebody can churn it out for 10 a penny, that's what they're going to be advertising, and business owners would be stupid, really, to think, well, why would I pay a lot more for the same thing that they can do for me? Okay, which means that you may have to 4 times your client base, 6 times, or even 10 times your client base in order to make that pay. It's doable, but you'd have to have brilliant marketing skills to make that happen. And of course, the infrastructure in place to serve that many clients on a production line. All right, so could work. But I don't think there's going to be much joy, much sense of purpose in that. And as I say, it's going to be a struggle, a lot of effort to make that profitable. So does option 2 appeal to anybody? Give us a yes or no. Well, that then leaves option 3, doesn't it? And option 3 is what I'm going to be talking about in this session. So it's quite good that nobody is appealed by option 2. And I might have painted a bleak picture, but I don't think I'm exaggerating on here. So what does option 3 look like? Option 3 is ultimately delivering something that's going to give you a greater sense of joy and purpose, isn't it? So let's take a look at that. Now, the thing is, most people, most consultants, I'm sorry to say that myself included, for many years have been saying, oh, look, you know, if you want to really thrive in this AI world, then you've got to be delivering advisory to your clients. And that word advisory is very ambiguous. What exactly does it mean? Now, for some, it means tax advisory. Well, that's fair enough, isn't it? As an accountant, you can deliver tax advisory, especially if you've got the tax element, the tax skills and knowledge. It might mean legislative advisory. They're fine. But actually, in general, it's become business advisory. And business advisory can create a lot of worry and concern, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, all of those factors from an accountant, because, you know, you just think, well, who am I to help a business owner improve? Now, I know some of you will have seen me use this next slide before, but if I just flick back to my TV, I love this quote. It's often attributed to Einstein. Nobody can actually find any proof that Einstein said it, but everybody's a genius. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that, actually. You know, we can all have different strengths, but I think there's genius in everybody. Everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it's going to spend its whole life thinking that it's stupid. Now, that lends itself to lots of different areas. But in this particular case, I think, and you may or may not agree with me here, and please feel free to challenge me in the chat box, but I think telling accountants that they have to be a business advisor is the same thing. You've got a different skill set than going into a business industry and maybe telling them how they can grow their business better. Now, as I say, some of you will probably disagree with that. Advisory for me is risky. Why is it risky? Well, if you think about the word advisory, it stems from the word advice. The word advice suggests that you tell someone what you think they should do. Now, as I say, if it's tax, if it's legislative, fine. But to go into somebody's industry and say you should be doing this instead, understanding their operations, that's different, isn't it? So it's risky, because if you tell somebody what you think they should do and it goes wrong, that's back on you, isn't it? They're going to blame you. I think it creates imposter syndrome. My clicker's not working. Why is my clicker not working? It creates imposter syndrome. And so what I mean by that is that people think, who am I to tell them what to do? I don't know their industry. And I don't believe it is your superpower as an accountant. Now, so I think if you have been on that line that I've just drawn on there, in the compliance area, I don't think that's your fault that you're still there. But I do believe that you can make a transition into helping clients, but in a different way. Now, for years, there's been advisory software produced that says, basically, yeah, use this advisory software and you'll be able to be a business advisor to your clients. I think advisory software, or the mountains of on-demand training to be a business advisor, they're both equivalent to still trying to get a fish to climb the tree. Yeah, the software tools might be like, here's a step ladder. Or the on-demand training is like, well, grab this branch, then grab this branch. It doesn't work, which is why only a minority of accountants have really made that transition into delivering what might be considered a true business advisory type of service. Okay, and that minority of accountants, I think, are probably much more extrovert. Maybe they've come from industries themselves and they've got a little bit more business experience in different ways. But I would suggest 90% of accountants have not made that transition because it feels like it's too outside of their remit. Okay. So I think advisory in that sense isn't for all accountants. But actually, there is a service that you can deliver that naturally fits with your superpowers. What are your superpowers? Well, one of them is numbers, your skills with numbers. You are experts in numbers. You also have a natural probing ability. Now, in the accounts, yes, you might probe deeper, you might seek to understand why certain numbers are what they are, and maybe dig a little bit deeper and really probe deep to understand, and you are systematic thinkers. So what I want to share with you is how you can help your clients, because I know many of you want to help your clients in many more ways, in a way that means you are much more respected, appreciated, and valued by them. Okay. And by the way, something that I just want to say here is that I think this presentation is perhaps aimed at two types of accountants. One, the accountant who maybe does experience that bit of imposter syndrome, that feels that, well, you've got to have the grey or balding, head, decades of experience, because I've got kind of imposter syndrome. All right. So in this presentation, you'll discover that you don't need that experience, that wisdom, that knowledge, etc. You've got the natural skills. But actually, there is another kind of accountant this is aimed for as well. And this is the accountant that is giving really good, sound advice to clients. But they're not getting paid for it. They're not charging for it, either because they taught themselves out of charging, or the client just wouldn't entertain that idea. And you find that you're just giving a lot of value away for free. Okay. And that can often be because what you're delivering isn't falling within a framework, a solution that clients are effectively paying for. So off the back of this presentation, I want you to believe that you can deliver much more of a business improvement service to your clients without feeling that you've got to be something that you're not. Okay. And it can be delivered on a monthly basis where you are charging an adequate fee, a fair fee that reflects the value, not the time, but the value that you are giving to these clients as well. You'll be able to improve client profits and their lifestyle, and it's all done within your comfort zone. And again, you'll be appreciated, valued, and properly rewarded. By the way, give us a yes or no if, I think it was about, was it last week or the week before? I've lost track now. Maybe 2 weeks ago, we had two guest speakers in, Catherine and Rachel, talking about them delivering more of a business improvement, profit improvement service to clients. Just give us a yes or no if you saw that. Because hopefully you'll have seen the enthusiasm, the passion, the joy that came from that. So some of you did see it, some of you didn't. Okay. So just to emphasize the point I made earlier, you don't need the grey hair or decades of experience. You don't need to know your client's industry. You don't need to be uber confident, extroverted, salesperson type person to get clients on board with this either. You don't need new clients or bigger clients or different clients. You don't need advisory software. And I'm not here to slate advisory software. It has its place. But I think there are other skills that perhaps need to be developed before they actually help an accountant. Yeah. You don't need to have all the answers either. Okay. So what are those three superpowers? What I want to do now is just share what the three superpowers are and how you can use those in a different way to help your clients. So as much as I mentioned the three superpowers earlier, numbers, probing, and systematic thinking, I'm going to talk about them in a slightly different way. So how can you ignite, remember that quote about everyone is a genius, how can you ignite that inner genius of your clients through your probing superpower? So let's take a look at that one first. Let me move across to my very messy looking slide. Okay, so I'm going to share some labels, roles, terms, whatever language you want to apply to them, for different ways that maybe a business owner can be helped to improve their business. Okay, and I will show you which one of these your superpower fits the best in. So we know that there are terms like, I'll just draw these in blue, consultant. There is mentor. There's coach. So let me share my definition of what these are. So a consultant generally is someone who, by its true definition, by the way, because a lot of these are kind of used interchangeably, but they each have a proper definition, really. So a consultant, by definition, is someone who's maybe academically trained in perhaps a specific area, could be general. And what they will do is they will go in, analyze a situation, diagnose the situation, and effectively give a prescription, an action plan of stuff that needs to be done to resolve the situation. Okay, so if you think about it, a doctor is a consultant. They will diagnose you health-wise and they will give you a prescription, which is an action plan, and say, do this or take this and things will get better. That's what a consultant does. You might get a marketing consultant, you might get a HR consultant, you might get a general business consultant as well. But they are academically trained in that area and they can come in and do that. Okay? They have their place. A mentor is someone who's been there, done that. They've got the t-shirt, they've got the hat, whatever language you want to use on those cliches. They can, so let me just add a little extra label on some of these. So a consultant basically, they prescribe. A mentor, because they've been there, maybe in that exact industry, they've lived through it, they've experienced the challenges, the emotions that come from that, all of those aspects, they can relate. I get you. I know what it feels like. And they can also share and just say, when I had that situation myself, this is what I did. Or based on my experience of that, this is what I would do. Okay, so they can share experiences, they can relate, they can demonstrate understanding much better. So if these will prescribe and these kind of share and relate, what's a coach? A coach, in the purest sense of the word, really was something developed by Socrates about 2,500 years ago. Socrates strongly believed that everybody is a genius, and the role of a coach in its purest sense is never to tell, never to kind of, make those recommendations or share anything. The role of a coach is purely to tap into that inner genius through questions, probing questions that really entice the individual to tap into that genius, and as a consequence they develop themselves. All right, so a coach will question. And a little additional label I like to add to this, because I think it's both really powerful and really useful, is that they will question in ignorance. Sometimes it's better that this person doesn't know the industry, because it's so easy to take stuff for granted and not ask questions that perhaps should be asked because of fear of, well, I should know this, I'm in that industry. So a coach can question in ignorance. I'd love being a coach because it means I don't have to know anything, I can just ask the questions. Yeah. But actually what that does is it develops the individual. Now, I've described those three functions, roles, whatever, but I've not mentioned business advisor. So where does business advisor sit? Well, in my opinion, let's use the same colour for consistency. In my opinion, a business advisor sits here. Some people argue, oh, isn't it all of them? No, it's not. A business advisor sits here because, again, it's still advice. It's slightly different, but it's still advice. So you're still effectively prescribing, giving recommendations, etc. But the reason I put it in between is because maybe from an accountant's point of view as a business advisor, and I say for some people, a small percentage, they embrace this, is that they're tapping into their own skills and experience and knowledge, and maybe they're also tapping into the experiences and knowledge of their clients, so they can lean on that to give some recommendations. All right, but actually, what I prefer is this: the coaching element. How many times have you made a suggestion to one of your clients as a business owner, and maybe they've said it, or maybe they at least thought it, and you've got that impression that they thought, oh, yeah, that wouldn't work in my business. My business is different. My customers are different. My team's different. My situation's different. My area is different. Yeah, we can get on the defensive, and that's because actually few of us really enjoy being told what we should do. Okay, because we feel, well, somebody's not really understood us. We all think our own business is very unique. I'm guilty of that myself. In fact, I don't really like working with consultants. I prefer, and I work with a number of coaches myself, because it's easy for me to think, yeah, my business is different. But if I've come up with the idea, then I've bought into it. So here we can get defensive. Here we buy into it. Yeah. Now, which do we value more? Because as an accountant, you might be thinking, well, if I'm not giving solutions, which is what I'm supposed to do as an accountant, give solutions, I'm a solution provider, then surely they're not going to value it. But actually, the value comes from tapping into them, developing them, and really focusing your client on what's really important, and then helping them come up with an idea that's going to help it happen. So I firmly believe that the value is much higher here to a client than here, especially if they dismiss it and don't even implement it. So let me know in the chat box if you agree or disagree with any of that. What I want to just do is share with you, thank you for that, Anne. One person agrees anyway. I'm just going to share with you, I don't know if Cassie's on here, but I'm going to show a quick video of Cassie here, talking about her experience. Now, my sound setting is wrong, so you'll not hear it unless I just make a quick change. So just bear with me for a moment. There, I think that will make it work. So I know there's a bit of repetition in here, so maybe some of you have seen some of these videos, but I just want to show this because this is about being that coach to a client rather than just being the telling somebody what they should do. So I'm just going to play this if it works.
I thought I need to see somebody before we have this meeting so that I know then what I've done, how I felt, whether I enjoyed it, and how I move on, right? So I got in touch with one of my clients who I know quite well, and I was like, oh, I really want to do this like coaching session with you because he has a few worries as well, so it helped. I said, so would you mind coming in and doing it? And I won't charge you. I said, I just want you to come in and see what you think and give me your honest opinion. And he was like, yeah, that's fine, yeah. I said, it's only an hour. And he says, yeah, all right. And then he comes in, and then I'm going through the whole rigmarole with him. He's a fish and chip man, so he owns a fish and chip shop. And he loves it, absolutely loves it, which I knew he would because he's really passionate about what he does. And I said, and have you found this really helpful? And he said, honestly, yeah, I have. I found it helpful. I was so excited after the meeting. I was like, this is brilliant.
Just before I move on as well, just one more quick one that I'd like to just quickly play. Excellent. Good stuff.
Yeah, to me, because this was a free to her, one-to-one. And she said to me, is there a way that I can pay you to get more of this? Now you can't mention it. Yes, there is. But it's things like that. It's just such a joy. It is just such a joy. I just want to do more of it, Shin.
Okay, so I mean, there's many more minutes of that, but I just wanted to give you a quick impression. You know, from Cassie's point of view, she doesn't run a chip shop. She couldn't talk chip shop language to her client, but actually using those coaching skills. At the end of it, she was so excited, wasn't she? You know, I think I cut her off at the wrong point, but she was saying how brilliant it was. That was Joe there, you know, delivering one of the free sessions that we encourage with clients, because actually the free session that we talk through often results in them saying something exactly like that, which is, can I pay you for more of these types of sessions? So it's a bit of a lost leader that leads into very high value work. How many of you would love for one of your clients to say, can I pay you for more of these types of conversations? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. Absolutely. And these kinds of conversations, as I say, they are so valuable to clients, because let's face it, most of your clients, maybe some of you, you know, yourself as well, it can be lonely. You've not necessarily got people challenging your thinking in the way that would really benefit you in your business. So that was the first superpower, probing. The second superpower, and by the way, by probing, I'm talking about using a proper coaching approach with clients. That second superpower then is numbers, improving the numbers that matter most to your business owners. Now, often, my throat's getting dry. It's not my first webinar today. You know, often the conversation that an accountant will have with clients is oriented around the numbers in the accounts. And those numbers are important, but they are not the only thing that's important. Okay, so if I give you an example, let me just move back to my chart. If you consider, if this circle represents a business, in that business, yes, as an accountant, you look at the finances and all of that lot, and that's very important. If I kind of just dissect this a little bit, there's the finances. And that's really, really important. Some key measures in there that are vital. However, to a business owner, there are other numbers that really matter as well. And your skills with numbers can be used in different ways. Okay, so yes, you might produce the accounts, and I'm not, by the way, suggesting in any of this that you don't do the accounts. I'm not saying abandon accounts, compliance stuff. That's really important, and it acts as the foundation for higher level conversations. But as I say, it's just one element of that. So I'm just going to grab a different pen, just because I think that one's drying out. I've lost my nice blue pen. It's got to be somewhere. I bet it's rolled off the back of the table or something. So we've got finances, but what else have we got? Well, if you really break down a business, then you've got things like, ultimately, they've got to generate interest in their business. They've got to sell their products or services. They've got to actually have products and services. So, you know, they've probably got an operations area. They've got to, if we really break down maybe some of these factors even more, they've got their products which maybe need packaging, pricing, etc. in more detail. There are other, I mean, they're going to have a team of people. What's the productivity like of their team and the culture? They're going to have customers. So what's the retention, the returning number, the loyalty, the customer happiness? You know, all of these are numbers, aren't they? And the list goes on. I mean, you could, just from a business point of view, you could say, how systemized is the business? How reliant on the owner is it? And that's just business alone. Maybe the business owner, numbers important to them are the hours that they're working, the holidays that they get to work, to take, should I say, rather than work. Either taking them interruption free, you know, in general, seeing their kids grow up, all of those types of factors are really important. So in all of these areas, there are numbers. So if I, just trying to alternate my colours, let's just use a green for a minute. You know, I mean, you know the numbers in this area, and in here, of course, then, there are many key ratios that can be calculated, aren't there? Key ratios that, if you explore those and look at how can those key ratios just be improved a little bit, then actually they can make a massive difference, especially if you model that out, you know, just do some sensitivity analysis, okay? As accountants, I don't need to talk about key ratios to you. What about marketing? Well, marketing, maybe there's the, you know, in marketing you've got ads, so maybe there's an ad spend, maybe there's the cost of client acquisitions, or cost per leads, or the number of inquiries that they're getting in. And then from that, maybe the number of inquiries that make their way to a sales call. What's the conversion rates? You've got ops, maybe you've got defects or mistakes or turnaround times. There are lots of numbers that fall within all of these areas. Do you agree? Pricing, you know, how much are they charging in the first place? Is it based on, well, this is what the competition's charging and therefore that's it? Or are they adding extra value to allow themselves to outvalue the competition, not just outprice the competition? Yeah? Because if you outvalue the competition, then actually you can charge a lot more, can't you? So, you know, the pricing, the team, I mentioned productivity, there can be culture, there can be team happiness. I've mentioned some of these things already. So identifying for a business owner, what are maybe the top 10 to 15 most important numbers are that can be really valuable to them, because actually and again, I know I've drawn this a few times in the past as well, but if we think about from a personality point of view, get rid of some of these pens, we're all different people, aren't we? Some of your clients will be big picture thinkers, some will be detailed, some are people oriented, people, some are numbers people, numbers, and they can be very different. And you know, as I've said a few times in the past, most entrepreneurs fall here, yeah? Most accountants fall here. So they're arguably almost polar opposite, aren't they? Now that can be a good thing if it's acknowledged and communication is adapted appropriately. What tends to happen is that quite often accountants, because they're detail people and numbers people, they may send really lengthy, detailed emails across to the entrepreneur type people. They won't read that, they won't look at it because it's too detailed. These people hate detail and they hate numbers. These people also can be quite butterfly in terms of their focus. You know, they may focus on different things, bright, shiny object led, okay, but actually they need their focus in the right area. And as an accountant, by identifying through sensitivity analysis, what are the most important numbers right now, and that can change from month to month or quarter to quarter, that if that entrepreneur focused their attention on it, and then you coached them and probed them on their thinking to improve it, you don't have to have the answers. At the moment, this is your conversion rate. What mechanisms could be put in place just to improve that a little bit? Even if we took it from 37 to 38%, yeah? And then they can start to be creative, because actually that's the main skill of most entrepreneurs. They've got the creativity, they just don't know where to apply it. Am I making sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. So you can deliver that kind of service to clients on a regular basis. Bring their attention back to the numbers every single month. Those of you who are AVN members will know that you've got access to what we call a one-page plan, and that is the perfect service to deliver and use as part of this service as well, where you're going through this stuff with them. let me just share with you another quick video here as well. So let me just move to here. This is just one example of the possibilities.
Client that I've done a taster session with, and I charged him for that. He's an existing client. And it was a really powerful session, and he sat there. So I did some modeling. I've got an Excel sheet and I did some modeling for him with him, and I put in, we looked at a price increase, then we looked at some stuff to do with his conversion rates. There was something else I can't remember. There was 3 things, and they were all quite easy changes, and we modeled what they would look like. And it changed the number. It changed him from break even to making something like, £98,000 over 12 months. And he sat back, then he put his head in his hands and he went, "Do not tell my wife this, she's going to kill me." I said, "Well, she's a nurse, right? So she'll probably give you a beating and then she'll help you." And he went, No. She knows I've left all that money on the table. She's going to be so cross with me."
Makes me smile every time I hear that one. But again, just a perfect example, isn't it, of just using your skills with numbers to use that sensitivity analysis, what if analysis, modeling, whatever language you want to apply to it, just to show the possibilities. And once you've engaged a client like that, and she just did a few tweaks to some of the existing numbers there, showed the possibilities, and then that client went on to say, "Can you work with me to help me to apply this stuff?" And of course, that was just off the back of one session. You apply some of those things, what's the next opportunity then, and what's the next one, and keep showing that is how you then grow a business or help a client to improve their business. Okay, so that was that one. The third superpower is one of the things that I think is really important around this is business advisory is often unstructured. Okay, most accountants will say, "Oh, I can come and sit with you for an hour every single month and we'll just explore the possibilities." There's no structure to that. What actually, accountants have that systematic thinking approach. So what I found accountants really value are frameworks to use. So I'm just going to very quickly give you a flavour for some of the frameworks that are in place in this this process that we took. Oops, wrong one. There we go, that one. So we call this the Profit Improvement Client Service. Yeah, but actually there's a different set of labels for getting those clients on board as well that come under the same thing. So perceive is the first one. So we have a kind of what we call a recognition radar, and what that is just a series of checkboxes that you can compare your clients against. Yeah, so what you're effectively doing is analysing your clients against this set of criteria, and the outcome from that will give you a priority list or a ranked list of the clients that probably most would benefit from this kind of help and support. Now, the beauty of that is that it helps you to approach the right people who are much more likely to be receptive to having that kind of help, rather than maybe the ones that would dismiss it. Yeah, so there are certain signals, this is why I call it a recognition radar. It's a series of signals that you can look out for. Okay, so it's kind of a framework. Then the next level from that is initiate. And what initiate does is, again, it's a very structured conversational framework, so that when you've identified the top of the list client, you can use a framework that I call eProfit, and that is a conversational framework. So very specific questions that actually it's a very safe to use conversational structure, because what will happen is you're just showing a genuine interest in your clients, and the outcome from that might be that they say, actually, I wouldn't mind some help with this. Is this something we can talk about in more detail? Or, you know, you just have the conversation and they just thank you for the chat, but they're not thinking they've just tried to sell me something. I got away with that. I dodged a bullet there. They're not thinking anything like that. You're just having a genuine conversation. So that's a really powerful process. Another framework. And then there's convert. And this is the one that Joe said, you know, ended in them saying, is there a way I can pay you for more of these? So it's a non-salesy way of getting people on board. And again, that's a very specific structure. I'm not going to go into detail on all of these, that often leads them to say, is this something we can do more regularly? How much would that be, etc. Yeah. And then the S stands for serve. And again, that's something that you can do every single month using the numbers. But actually, there are frameworks to this as well that enable you to continue to be incredibly valuable month after month after month as that business, that client's business is starting to really grow and boom. And it means you get paid for it as well. Now, I've deliberately used, rather than Joe, she talks about a significantly higher fee that she was using with clients. This is Neil. I don't know if Neil's on here. If you are, let yourself be known. But this is Neil just talking about him going in a much lower price per client per month, but actually feeling comfortable doing that right now as he builds up his confidence.
So I've signed up one coaching client who's paying me, a second one who has done a trial with me, which they paid for, and they've come back and said, yep, want some more.
Brilliant.
And there's a third one, which I'm now having sort of more conversation with. I'm charging them £500 a session. And I feel comfortable charging that at this moment in time.
So again, just by way of conveying that, you know, from the horse's mouth, he's gone in at 500. Now, my recommendation was higher than that, but he went in at that 500. And I know some other people have gone in significantly higher as well. It's whatever you feel appropriate with. But is this the kind of service that you would love to be delivering more to your clients? Give us a yes or no in the chat box on that. And by the way, if it's a no, you know, by all means, pop in the no as well. Since only a small percentage of you have actually put a yes in there, it makes me wonder about the rest of you. So I would be interested to know on that. And is there an interest in developing the skills, the confidence through training to be able to deliver this to your clients of interest to you? I think I said that completely wrong, but is there an interest in learning more about this? Because if there is, you know, I've mentioned this before, we run our profit improvement certification process for accountants. We've got the very last one that we are running in 2026 coming up in September. If that's something that you're interested in getting more information about, then I would recommend that you let us know in that chat box and we can send you some info. In the meantime, I did tell you that there would be a download that you can get access to as well. Okay, so that's in the form of this booklet. And in this, sorry, I was just glancing at the chat box. In this booklet, you know, there's a lot more detail about what I'm talking about, and it also gives you access to some other booklets as well that you can download. If that is important to you, I'm just going to type in, if you click on that link, you'll be able to pull that document down, that PDF, and also it'll tell you how to access some more stuff. Okay, that's me at the end of this session now. As I say, I would highly recommend that you check out coming along to our course, our last course of the year. That is Profit Improvement Accountant.global. I may well have done this wrong. I've just manually typing this in. But if you take a look at that link as well, That'll tell you a little bit more about it. My recommendation is come along, because I'm not sure how long it's going to be before we run it again next year, because actually we've promised to do it in some other countries as well. Right, well, I hope this has been useful for you. Give us a yes or no in the chat box if it has. Thank you for attending, and we shall see you next week. All the best, everybody. Thank you for that, Robert, and Anne and Rose. Oops, coming up a bit fast now. Orlando, Graham, Chris, Vin, Karim, Bada. So James, VJ, thank you very much for all these wonderful thank yous. Right, I shall exit today's session. All the best to you. Bye-bye.